There's a lot of difficulty when it comes to getting into fighting games as a hobby, especially if you're genuinely interested in improving as a player and want to try to become good. Starting from scratch can be a fucking nightmare when you don't have any experience. You're being asked to learn neutral, footsies, offense, defense, anti-airs, combos, hit confirms, option selects, and God knows what else. However, some characters in some games demand even more than that, like controlling multiple characters at once or keeping track of extra resources. What if there was a character who, in addition to all the nonsense you're normally expected to go through to learn a character, will also ask you to be familiar with the rules of a real-life sport? Junpei Iori, baby. You love him, I love him, and he's here in Persona 4 Arena Ultimax rocking a baseball bat to beat people's heads in. Speaking from my own experience, ever since P4AU was released on modern consoles in 2022, Junpei is easily the character I've seen talked about the most. Prior to when I finally started learning Ultimax, I couldn't tell you what most characters in this game did, but I was well familiar with Junpei just from absorbing things people would say about him. Funnily enough though, any discussion I saw about Junpei started and stopped with his unique gimmick, the baseball meter, and his power-up super victory cry that's tied to that gimmick. Everything else typically just got passed by the wayside, which made me really interested in learning more about this guy. So let's do just that. You tend to see Junpei on the lower end when it comes to tier lists. He isn't bad by any means, but he's definitely a little more honest than your Yukaris and Mitsurus and Kens. Like any character with a snowball-esque mechanic, a lot of problems crop up as a result of his need to unlock a power-up during a match, but that power-up is well worth the trouble for what it enables. Baby steps though. Let's start with the basic stuff first. The man's got 4 cards and 9500 HP. With the extra health Shadow type characters get, Shadow Junpei has 10,500 health, but like all Shadows, he has a 10% damage penalty on his attacks. S Junpei's auto combo does not change though, since Junpei was not playable in vanilla. Speaking of auto combo, let's talk about those buttons. 5A is Junpei's jab. With its speed and strong frame data, 5A is his primary method of enforcing stagger pressure. Junpei 5A has 5 frames startup, making it Junpei's fastest normal, and it has pretty decent range for a 5A that's so fast. The second hit of his auto combo, 5AA, is a shoulder charge, which is -3 on block. It moves Junpei very far forward, so he has consistent combo conversions off 5A even at farther ranges. It's also jump cancelable, which allows Junpei to use it in pressure too. The final hit, 5AAA, is cool because it actually side switches after it hits. Depending on his position on the screen, it's an easy way to switch sides and escape the corner in a combo, but even without the side switch, it's a very strong combo tool. Since it launches so high, it can reliably be used as a bridge to cancel into most of his special moves. Notably, it's one of his main ways of routing into 236B, which is too slow to combo for most other buttons. Keep in mind that the side switch only occurs on hit. If this button is blocked, Junpei will always remain on the same side. Interestingly, the special that comes out automatically if you do the full auto combo delays itself long enough that the side switch always happens, but you can cancel it into a special manually early to stay on the same side. The auto combo does 236A every time, which is hardly optimal. And this should be pretty obvious, but 5AAA is extremely punishable on block. 2A is a 7 frame low, pretty standard stuff. Like 5A, it can Gatling into itself, so it's good for pressure, but you don't get the greatest damage for opening people up since starting combos with 2A adds heavy scaling. It actually adds less scaling when used in the middle of combos than 5A does, and it's got its use in some routes. It's also -5 on block, which means it can be punished. Kind of odd for an A normal. A lot of other 2As are usually -2 or 3, so Junpei's is a little harder to use in his pressure. For his strike throw, 5A is preferable due to being faster and safer. All of Junpei's B normals utilize his bat, which is going to be very important later on for the baseball meter. A shared property of all Junpei bat attacks is that they reflect projectiles. Right back at ya. Whenever Junpei's bat attacks make contact with a projectile, the game will act as if Junpei landed the attack, which allows him to cancel them even if they don't make contact with the opponent. For 5B in particular, this is nice as this button can be dash cancelled on hit or block, which Junpei can use to close the gap after reflecting a projectile with it. 5B itself is good combo filler and a decent starter, however it's also a bit stubby and on the slow side at 10 frame startup, while not really having the range to make up for it. Not a bad button though, and essential to his combo routes. Prepared to see this in combos a lot when Junpei is in Victory Cry. As the universal anti-air, 2B is Junpei's main answer to jumps and other nuisances that emerge from the air. It rocks a good hitbox to cover Junpei's dome, but unfortunately it's 12 frame startup, which is on the slower side as the fastest 2Bs tend to be around 7 to 8 frames, and unlike other 2Bs that are slower to start up, it really doesn't have the range to make up for it. At the very least, the invul isn't bad. It becomes invincible to head attribute attacks on the 7th frame and remains invul for the rest of its active frames. Junpei's 2B will reflect projectiles diagonally upwards when it connects. 2B can also be used in pressure since it's jump cancelable on block, and jump cancels are very strong for Junpei thanks to JB. Going out of order here, but fuck it. JB is an absolutely amazing button with ridiculous reach. The range is such that Junpei can hit a lot of characters at the peak of his jump when they're standing. You can chain it into JA, enabling tricky double overhead mix-ups and some neat character-specific combos, so it has great synergy with jump cancels for pressure and damage. If JB connects on an airborne opponent as a counter hit, it has an extremely long untechable duration, which gives Junpei all the time in the world to pick up a combo, so this is insanely rewarding to land. And if it reflects a projectile, it gets sent downwards diagonally. Altogether, pretty fucking rad button that makes Junpei a menace in the air. Abuse it at your peril though. It may be a cracked ass air normal, but it's still an air normal. Naturally, it's head attribute, so a 2B anti-air will stop any JB spam in its tracks. JA in comparison is an average normal. It's just a standard air combo filler and air to air. Fast, low damage, decent horizontal range, nothing special really. Junpei has a command normal, J2A. It's a dive kick that travels diagonally downward.
Crystal clear!
It works how you'd expect a dive kick to work in terms of frame advantage. The lower Junpei's foot connects with the opponent, the safer he is. If it connects from too high up, there's a good chance Junpei will be punishable on block. J2A is primarily used in his pressure to crush throws, since Junpei's jump will avoid the throw and the dive kick will punish it, with the counter hit giving a combo afterward. Junpei can use it to similar effect for blowing up defensive buttons. If a button's hitbox is low enough to the ground, Junpei can avoid it during dive kick startup and get a counter hit during the recovery. J2A is a very nice way to threaten people's defense and his pressure, especially if their fastest button is also a low. You can combo off non-counter hits with J2A, but this requires Junpei to be very low to the ground. And he can also use it in certain combo routes. Junpei's 5C will fire a projectile that hits from about half a screen away. This is easily one of Junpei's best buttons, and its multifunctional nature benefits his offense in countless ways. 5C is a great all-around combo tool. With minimal scaling and a high damage of 700, 5C leads to great damage as a combo starter, and it's also useful in the middle of combos. This button is so insanely versatile for routing, it's kind of crazy. It's his main way of comboing into 2C, which can then be cancelled into 236C to go into many different routes. Junpei can also combo 5C into a jump cancel JB. Routes that involve this sequence only work on characters who are tall enough to get hit by JB at the peak of his jump, but they're stylish and strong in the matchups that they can be used, and it also sees use in his corner routing. Told you, versatile. This thing is an incredible poke at mid-range, and Junpei reaps great reward if it counter hits, including being able to go into all-out attack. The projectile reaches much farther than most of his non-persona normals, letting him push his offense at further ranges than 5B or 2B can. 5C has the capability to shut down approaches hard, which some characters actually struggle a lot with. It can be surprisingly difficult to use certain approach options against Junpei without taking a big risk on eating a counter hit 5C and getting blown up for it. 5C can be cancelled into a dash on block or hit. Most dash cancels from buttons tend to be minus, but Junpei's 5C dash cancels can actually be made plus on block if the fireball connects at a long enough distance, which makes this a seriously strong pressure reset with the right spacing. If it connects as a counter hit, the dash cancel can be comboed off of with 5A. The only real problem with 5C is that the recovery on whiff is huge. 2C is a low-hitting slide that travels slightly farther than 5C but also has longer startup.
Over here.
This is mainly used in combos with 236C for the launch and as a meaty after certain knockdowns to keep people from jumping away on his Oki. 2C does 900 damage and has minimal scaling, so combos that start with this button can and usually do hurt. A lot. JC is another strong tool for Junpei, sporting a huge hitbox that lets it air to air very effectively. Dash up into jump back JC is a very effective throw bait that leads to huge damage, adding a dangerous layer to a strike throw mix-up. 5D and JD are similar normals that fulfill slightly different purposes. Upon making contact with the opponent, Junpei's persona Trismegistus will kick at them 3 times.
Jeez, stare, still good!
Alright.
Still good!
Watch.
Couple things to note here. Both 5D and JD function similarly. The only difference between the two is the angle at which Trismegistus flies and the startup. 5D is 48 frame startup, JD is 59. Not exactly speedy. As for the angle, 5D goes in the same direction every time, while JD's angle is dependent on Junpei's height during activation. If done from a super jump, this baby hits from full screen, and it can hit even higher if you air turn before performing it. As a pressure tool, it's plus on block, but there are gaps between the kicks, so an opponent can roll or DP through your pressure to escape. Of course, this also means Junpei can set himself up to bait and punish those same defensive options, so there's a bit of RPS here between both players. It's good Oki, although the very long startup means you need a knockdown to safely set this up without risk of getting interrupted. The 3 hits do not combo into each other on a grounded opponent without a counter hit, but if they're in the air you can get a combo every time, which is actually pretty nice. Due to the faster startup, 5D is favored as an Oki tool over JD. JD, on the other hand, is mainly used in neutral thanks to the variable angles it can cover. It's risky as you leave yourself open for a very long time during the startup, but being able to mix up where it comes down from can be very useful, and JD itself can be helpful at punishing certain neutral options on other characters, or even intercepting people's attempts to hit Junpei while he's in the air. 2D and J2D are also identical to each other, not unlike 5D and JD.
Here goes.
These two have Trismegistus fly upward at a diagonal angle, with slight differences in the angle and startup between the two. These are great for controlling neutral or hitting jumpers since they fly so far, and they have great synergy with his other 2 D normals, as well as Deathbound, one of his specials that also uses his persona. Junpei is able to use these normals to take advantage of persona displacement. See, persona-based attacks tend to come out from where the user is standing, but some persona attacks can have the position at where they start up changed by using other persona attacks to displace them. This allows for characters to use persona attacks from different points on the screen, and Junpei in particular can do this with his D normals. Examples include performing a 2D and then another 2D right after. Notice how the second 2D flies out from the opposite side. This can create some seriously annoying full screen harassment and potential combos. What makes this extra irritating is that his D normals can hit from the other side if Trismegistus was displaced behind the opponent, and oftentimes it's not even possible to see Trismegistus in these situations because it's off screen. This is so annoying to deal with for certain characters who struggle to hit personas from far away, and makes Junpei hard to approach in those matchups. Just keep in mind that all of these D normals are slow to start up and have a ton of recovery, so they can very easily get sniped and cost Junpei a card. Junpei's sweep is a slide, and it's notable for traveling very far along the ground, which can make it a pretty good counter poke when combined with the low profile and chest attribute invul. It's minus 11 on block, so make sure to cancel it here to avoid a punish. And of course it's a good combo tool like most sweeps are in this game. Junpei's furious action is Super Flamingo Swing. Upon hitting B plus D, Junpei takes up a batting stance, and by hitting any button, he'll swing his bat.
So
The stance can be held for a couple of seconds before the attack automatically comes out, and the damage of the swing increases the longer you hold it, as long as the attack is released manually.
bingo. Bingo. Bingo.
The stance is invul from frames 1 to 17, and you can release it as early as frame 13. And therein lies the problem. A 13 frame reversal is far from ideal in defensive situations. Other similar DP-esque furious actions tend to be around 10 frame startup like Narukami and Mitsuru. Add to that the utter lack of range and you've got yourself a mediocre reversal. However, this is an integral combo tool in Victory Cry. Again, we'll get to that later, but rest assured, this thing's combo utility more than makes up for how it lacks as a defensive option. I didn't get to talk about this in the Naoto video, but these kinds of furious actions can be cancelled into super. If your DP is baited and the opponent blocks it, you can do super into OMC to make it safe. Very expensive though, 50 meter for the super and 50 meter for the OMC. Junpei's grab is very strong for a number of reasons. It knocks the opponent away full screen, allowing him to send the opponent towards the corner if they weren't already there. Junpei can combo off it in the corner without resources, and he gets pretty great reward off his throw combos. Unfortunately, you don't get much mid-screen unless it counter hits, which allows for a combo into Deathbound. His air throw similarly gives him a combo on hit, enabling solid reward off a successful call-out with it. On counter hit, you get a combo from anywhere, even mid-screen.
You're good.
Junpei's first special is Super Spin Swing, 236A or B. We can just call this Spin. This is a pretty simple special where Junpei spins around, doing damage all the while. The A version is significantly faster, 11 frame startup, versus the B version's 30 frame startup, so it cancels out of most buttons, but on hit it leads to low reward. Pretty unimpressive damage, mediocre Oki afterward, and no real follow-ups unless cancelled into Super or OMC. 236B is much harder to work into combos. As far as practical routing goes, you really only have 5 AAA as an option for going into B spin. However, B spin also launches the opponent much higher up on hit, which allows for combo extensions afterward. EX spin does the same damage as the B version but starts up in 17 frames, slightly slower than the A version but much faster than B spin. It's also -4 on block, which makes it safe, unlike the A and B versions. Not that you'd want to use this in block strings anyway. All three versions of spin can also be done in the air, and air spin's three versions are pretty close together in terms of how fast they are. Air spin is a standard air combo ender. 214A or B, super bunt, or just bunt, has guard point. It's not frame 1 and the guard point loses to lows, so you can't use this as a reversal, but it's still nice to have. A bunt is the fastest to start up and is mainly used as a combo ender, usually after sweep. It doesn't lead to the greatest damage, but it does leave the opponent slightly closer than A swing. The B and EX versions, much like the spin, are slower to start up than the A version, but they're actually pretty good for pressure. 214B and 214A plus B are both plus on block, which allows Junpei to reset his pressure in a block string and keep his turn. Both of these versions are chargeable, which delays the startup, but it also extends the guard point period. The guard point will eat up any Abare attempts and deliver a counter hit that Junpei can combo off and score some nice damage. While B and EX can both be used for this purpose, EX bunt's guard point does actually work against lows, unlike the meterless versions. EX bunt is also dash cancelable. 236C or D is full speed slide, and we'll just call this slide. Despite being a C and D special, it doesn't involve a persona at all, so Junpei can use this while persona broken or silenced. This is a dive that's used in combos and as a cheeky mix-up. The C slide hits low. Similar to spin, slide has an air version, and the air slide hits low just like the ground version. Definitely something to appreciate about the mix-up potential of a low that comes from the air. This is a hell of an annoying knowledge check. D-slide brings in a different kind of mix-up. With D-slide, you have two hits. The first is an overhead and the second is a low, and there's a slight delay between the two. An air low and a special that hits overhead and low can't get more annoying if you try. There are risks to doing slide without meter for an OMC to cancel it due to it being punishable on block, but a mix-up is a mix-up, and when you have the meter to keep it safe, it's not bad. Feel free to abuse it, but keep in mind that in addition to being punishable on block, all versions of air slide in particular have fatal recovery. Every slide has chest attribute invul, and they lower Junpei's hurtbox enough to low profile some attacks. EX slide has the same built-in mix-up as D slide, but it has some added guard point. More importantly, you can feign this move by holding down the buttons.
I'm gonna do this!
Junpei will run, but he won't slide, which makes it sort of a pseudo-dash cancel. This is mainly used in Victory Cry for combos after bunt and for corner carry after his DP. Junpei's final special, his only persona-gated special, is 214C or D, Deathbound.
Here goes! Trismegistus!
Trismegistus slams down with slow startup, but pretty fast speed when coming down. The position on screen that Trismegistus comes down from depends on the button used. C comes down at a little less than half screen, D basically goes full screen, and EX tracks the opponent. Deathbound complements Junpei's D normals nicely, giving him another way to harass and neutral from far away, and also letting him counter zoning and catch anti-air attempts. The D version also combos out of 2D and J2D. EX is also very important to Junpei as it's the only version capable of hitting close to him, and it ground bounces up on hit higher, which allows for a combo. Also, if it's blocked or whiffed, you're pretty much guaranteed to lose a card. Normally I'd get into his supers now, but instead, let's transition into talking about that baseball meter. I've seen plenty of people label the baseball meter, located next to his SP bar, as confusing or overly complicated. It's pretty simple when you have a grasp on it, but it is fairly involved and kinda abstract for a fighting game, so I can understand the sentiment. Let's break it down. The number in the very middle of the meter is your runs. This is the main digit you're trying to increase. Runs can be obtained in a variety of ways. First is by collecting bases. Bases are obtained whenever Junpei lands a hit with a bat attack, or if a projectile is reflected by one, since the game considers a bat attack to have landed if it does so. You'll know you have a base collected when the diamonds surrounding your run count light up. Once you have 3 bases, every bat attack landed will award 1 run. The 3 letters to the left of the diamond, S, B, and O, are strikes, balls, and outs. Balls are awarded to Junpei if a bat attack is blocked. In addition, he gets a ball for attacking a Persona or Koromaru if you're fighting Ken with a bat attack, and he gets one if his bat attack clashes. Every 4th ball Junpei collects will reward 1 base. The S stands for strikes. If Junpei whiffs any bat attack, he gets 1 strike. 3 strikes, you get an out.
Hit it! Samurai swing! Try this for size!
Outs are given whenever you get 3 strikes or if you take damage. Getting hit by an attack, be it a normal, special, or a throw, will reward an out. 1 out is given every time Junpei enters hit stun. It's not like he gets an out for every hit in a combo. That would be pretty fucked for Junpei. But yes, the opponent can indeed manipulate your baseball progress, and this is bad, because if you get 3 outs, you are set back tremendously. Everything is reset upon getting your 3rd out, aside from your runs. Thankfully, there's no way to lose those, but you do lose all your bases, and you lose your balls. Junpei can also obtain runs with his supers, Inferno Homer and Comeback Grand Slam, as well as his Awakening skill. These supers can connect as a home run depending on how you input them. Landing a home run gives out 1 run guaranteed, with up to 3 additional runs being awarded for every base he has. So if he gets a home run with 3 bases, he can get 4 runs in one go. Scoring a home run does reset your bases to 0 though. All of that sounded real complicated, I know, but it's pretty easy to summarize. Basically, your main goal is to get 10 runs. You get runs by hitting people with your bat, which gives out bases for every hit, and gives out runs once you have 3 bases. You want to avoid whiffing attacks or getting hit, as both can result in losing your bases. Land hits, and you win. Pretty simple. One more thing to mention is full counts. If Junpei fills out all the balls, strikes, and outs on the meter, he'll begin emanating a red actor image. In this state, any hit he lands with a bat attack is guaranteed to be a fatal counter. Highly impractical, but hilarious nonetheless. More so than trying to inflict as much damage as possible, Junpei's goal first and foremost is to obtain runs, because it's the key to unlocking his power-up super, the Victory Cry.
This one!
Victory Cry is automatically activated once Junpei has 10 runs, and it's his win condition. Emphasis on win, he becomes a different animal once this is activated. Victory Cry offers a few benefits. While it's active, Junpei will passively regenerate his health and meter. Even though he only needs 10 runs to get Victory Cry, he can continue collecting runs after it activates, up to a maximum of 55, and for every 10 runs he gets after reaching VC, the rate at which he heals and gives himself meter is increased further. I should also mention that Spin will do more hits for every 5 runs collected. Also, Victory Cry grants Junpei a small damage boost. Most importantly, he gains access to clean hits, and these are really what make him demand in Victory Cry. You can think of clean hits as being like a sweet spot of sorts. All of his bat attacks gain this effect in Victory Cry, his B normals, bat specials, furious action, and his supers. If any of them connect at certain ranges on an airborne opponent, they'll land as a clean hit. You'll know you've landed a clean hit because of the green text on screen that says clean hit. In addition, a clean hit also replaces the normal hit sound with this. Beautiful. More so than the extra damage or meter gain, this is easily the best part of Victory Cry. Upon landing as a clean hit, every bat attack deals more damage and has added hit stun. In addition, clean hit spin launches the opponent higher. Bunt and his furious action become special cancelable when landing as a clean hit. Bunt also gains a sliding knockdown effect on clean hit that's extremely strong and allows Junpei to continue a combo or set up Oki, and his furious action will wall bounce on clean hit if the opponent is close enough to the corner. Certain clean hits also offer Junpei safe jumps on hit. Of course, you do need to learn the spacing for clean hits first. It can be tough, but like with any execution, it becomes second nature with time and practice, and some of Junpei's launchers leave him at ranges where a clean hit is pretty much auto-timed, give or take a small delay or micro dash. The main purpose of clean hits is greatly increasing Junpei's damage. Thanks to all the new effects that his moves get on clean hits, Victory Cry Junpei has combos that he can only dream of prior to reaching that state, which causes his damage to skyrocket. One of his trademarks is Bat Loops, his main mid-screen combo. This combo involves looping 5B into Hop JB. Not only are they insanely satisfying to pull off, but the damage and corner carry, even without spending meter on supers, is absurd, and with supers it gets even better. In the corner he has plenty of clean hit routes. This is where Bunt and his furious action both being special cancelable on clean hit comes into play, as well as the former sliding knockdown and ladder's wall bounce. When properly optimized, Victory Cry Junpei's corner routes let him do upwards of 5k damage without even spending meter. Off throws, dive kick resets, slides into OMC, almost any starter enables 3k at worst for Junpei meterless, and it gets even better when you have the cash to spend for EX moves or supers. I'd like to go into more detail on his supers since I kinda skimmed over them thus far. Upon activating, both 236, 236A or B, Inferno Homer, and 236, 236C or D, Comeback Grand Slam have Junpei enter a stance. In this stance, you can perform the actual attack by hitting any of the 4 attack buttons. A and C both share the same effect on hits, as do B and D. If you connect with either of these supers at certain ranges, you get different effects depending on the button pressed. For the A and C ender, you get a home run, and for the B and D ender, you get a clean hit, even before reaching Victory Cry. Now, here's where the differences come in. If you land the clean hit ender of Inferno Homer, you're awarded with a different knockdown effect that lets you pick up a combo afterward without any extra resources. This makes Inferno Homer one of Junpei's most potent combo tools. You can use it to do double super combos and potentially get huge damage and a ton of runs. Comeback Grand Slam's clean hit effect requires an OMC to get a combo after it hits, so it's not that useful in comparison. Beyond that, the major difference is that Comeback Grand Slam also summons a fireball from his persona. It can potentially drag the opponent towards Junpei, and the super's ender can hit the fireball to launch it towards the opponent. You can use this super to potentially punish people attempting to take a card from Junpei after a blocked Deathbound, or to get a combo off Deathbound on hit. Junpei can perform combos that involve hitting the opponent with only the fireball. The key is to keep the opponent at a very specific height where the swing from the ender will whiff, but still hit the fireball up towards them. In these cases, they're launched high into the sky, potentially allowing him to land his awakening skill afterward for some very expensive double super cash outs. These are called foul ball combos, and they're a super cool and super damaging meter investment. Since home runs offer a maximum of 4 runs on hit, Junpei's supers will allow him to greatly expedite the process of getting Victory Cry. Anytime he has 3 bases, it's standard for Junpei to cash out with the super cancel from spin or bunt into Inferno Homer. Both specials set up the spacing for the home run very easily. Inferno Homer can also be dash canceled during a specific window of the stance. This is obviously not a good pressure option since the super flash makes it very obvious and the delay makes it very interruptible, but it has some other niche uses. If you know the super is going to whiff during a combo, the dash cancel can potentially save yourself from eating a punish during the recovery of the ender. Inferno Homer also has a shitload of invincibility compared to Combat Grand Slam. Since his DP is pretty lousy defensively, this is a pretty great alternative as a reversal, and both have their place in his rotation of defensive options along with the solid guard cancel. The dash cancel can also be helpful here. If the opponent baits a Wake Up Inferno Homer, he can create a bit of a mix-up for them on whether he'll do the Ender and one more cancel it, or not do the Ender and dash cancel the stance. The opponent might roll to avoid blocking the Ender so he can't OMC it, but that roll could potentially make it so they can't punish him if he dash cancels instead. It's not super useful, but it could come in handy in a pinch sometimes. As for his awakening skill, Super Vorpal Bat done with 214, 214C or D, it works a little different from the other two. Here, Trismegistus yoinks the opponent and flies across the screen. The humble Junpei player is then tasked with timing a button press to hit the opponent while they're in Trismegistus' grip. Just like his other two supers, all 4 buttons can launch the attack, but there's no difference based on what you press, and the attack can also connect as a home run with the correct timing for more damage. When it comes to activating the super in the first place, the C, D, and EX versions vary in speed and damage. C is the slowest and easiest to time, but also the least damaging. The EX version is insanely fast and pretty damn precise to connect at all, let alone to get the home run timing, but it does ridiculous damage in return. And D is somewhere in the middle of those two. This is a strong awakening skill for sure. Junpei can get massive damage from it as a combo ender, and the speed and range of the activation is useful in routing that sends the opponent far away, like 2D into Deathbound or foul ball combos. Sadly, even though it would be hysterical, the lunge that Trismegistus does to capture the opponent is not a grab. You can block this. It's also a fairly demanding super to use, never minding that you need to learn specific timings to maximize the damage. The fact that it can miss at all means you could potentially spend up to 75 meter and get nothing out of it. That little bit of damage the opponent takes if the swing whiffs can't even kill, by the way. Funnily enough, there's a very specific timing you can hit that combines the home run damage and the damage they take on a whiffed swing. Junpei supers are instrumental for both reaching 10 runs and enhancing his damage once he has Victory Cry. Bottom line, Junpei in Victory Cry hurts like a motherfucker. 5A gives him very strong staggers, and that in of itself enables strong strike throw, where both sides lead to a very damaging combo. This goes hand in hand with his various ways to reset pressure like dive kicks, bunt, and jump or dash cancels, all of which can be useful for taking down different defensive options. Once he gets a hit, any opening leads to a ton of reward in terms of explosive damage, corner carry, and potential Okizeme with 5D. Characters in other games who have to unlock power-ups or new moves typically lose their benefits at the end of a round, but Junpei thankfully skips out on this trend. Once Victory Cry has been activated, Junpei remains in this state for the rest of a match. Excellent. The entire baseball meter does reset itself at the start of every round though, again outside of any runs that Junpei already has. Of course, this all happens when you finally gain access to Victory Cry, and this is where things start to get complicated. The process of getting to Victory Cry is pretty simple. You just hit people with your bat. How easy it is, now that's a different story. Ideally, Junpei wants to get close enough to start offense with his bat attacks, since hitting people with them is how he starts gathering runs. Against characters he can win neutral consistently against and rush down, it's usually pretty easy. Those are the matchups Junpei excels in. Other matchups are a different story. If he can't get his close range offense started, he really struggles to get anything done in regards to the baseball meter. He has strong ranged play thanks to his persona normals, and he has answers for zoning with Deathbound and his bat attack's ability to reflect projectiles, which is helpful, but for the most part, landing these attacks doesn't really get him closer to reaching 10 runs. It doesn't help that many of his persona attacks have very long startup and high recovery, which leaves him liable to losing cards easily. Junpei is far from the most persona-reliant character on the roster. Some characters are absolutely crippled by persona breaks, and Junpei is not one of them, but losing these tools does make him less versatile during the persona break duration, while also removing certain combo routes from play. That's all without even mentioning the constant annoyance of outs. Like I mentioned earlier, getting hit gives Junpei an out, and once he has 3, he loses everything in the meter besides the runs he's already obtained. Sure, that's bad on its own, but I left out one funny little detail. Not only does getting hit by attacks give him an out, but he also gets an out for getting hit by a burst. That really sucks, because if he gets hit by a burst, not only is he knocked very far away from the opponent, it can also potentially wipe away any bases he's accumulated up to that point. Junpei thrives on momentum more than a lot of other characters, and burst can kill that momentum entirely, forcing you to try and pick up the pieces. Some of these issues can be avoided by Shadow Junpei. There's not exactly a laundry list of differences between normal type Junpei and Shadow Junpei that extend past the universal stuff, but much like with Shadow Naoto and her fate manipulation, Shadow Junpei can benefit greatly from Shadow Frenzy. Frenzy gives Shadow Junpei the ability to perform combos that gather 10 runs immediately. Since you start every game with Burst, which is the cost for a Frenzy, it's more than possible for the first hit Shadow Junpei lands in a game to lead straight into Victory Cry, at the cost of a major defensive option. The potential ease of getting your 10 runs more than makes up for the 10% damage penalty, and there's definitely value out of having access to Junpei's Awakening skill at any time, not to mention he benefits from the increased meter gain that Shadows have. Before you ask, normal type Junpei does have instant Victory Cry combos that can get him from 0 to 10 runs in one swing, but these tend to be pretty impractical, either because they require a starter that isn't common to hit in a match, or they require tons of meter. Shadow Junpei is considered better due to the easier access of getting Victory Cry, and although there's disadvantages and advantages to playing either, they also kinda share the same major flaw. Any struggles Junpei faces reaching Victory Cry are amplified by the fact that without it, he's just very mediocre. He still has the same pressure and his kit remains mostly the same, but his damage is so much worse. With Victory Cry, Junpei baseline hits for 3k off of most touches, while pre-Victory Cry, Junpei can struggle to hit that without expending resources. Not only do his combos before Victory Cry do less damage, they're also usually shorter, so his meter build is kneecapped too, which means less uses of helpful moves like EX Deathbound, EX Slide, and his supers. Junpei also struggles to set up Okizeme without being in Victory Cry. Since he doesn't have access to Bunt's insanely long knockdown on clean hit, his ways of setting up 5D Oki pre-Victory Cry are much more limited and more liable to being interrupted. Any mistakes made by Junpei are practically felt tenfold compared to other characters who don't need to unlock things like threatening damage or consistent knockdowns. Getting opened up, taking a hit, trying to navigate zoning or persona pressure, getting her combo bursted, all of these things can set him back big time. Another issue is that while Junpei has good pressure, he doesn't have much in the way of actual mix-ups besides his strike throw. Jump and dash cancels from 5B and 5C and bunt resets are liable to being called out by rolls and DPs, and more gimmicky stuff like slide mix-ups have their own associated risks. These problems can make Junpei feel inconsistent. He's got high highs, but getting there requires trudging through nasty lows. Not being able to get Victory Cry makes his life extremely hard, but it's certainly worth it for the damage and the sheer satisfaction of hitting combos with like 5 clean hits in a row. There's going to be games where everything works out for him and he gets Victory Cry without having to jump a single hurdle, and games where he gets shut out so hard that he can't even collect a single run. That's just the nature of this kind of character, but even then, it still makes him very unique, very cool, and super rewarding when all the pieces fall into place. And thus, we have Junpei Iori. I know I've talked about him before, but I'm glad I was able to do him more justice than I have in the past. Gotta say, as someone who didn't know much about him beyond the baseball meter's existence, I'm really glad I got to learn more about this character, even if my baseball knowledge is still less than 0. He's super sick, even if he is held back somewhat by the mechanic that makes him that way. The idea of a character having to unlock a power-up super that grants higher damage through sweet spots on their attacks is some killer shit. This video was only possible thanks to the help of MAXX.SEV and SEBALESS. Couldn't have done it without them, so thank you very much. Much of the footage in this video was also taken from MAXX.SEV's YouTube channel, so again, thank you so much. I'm eternally grateful. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. Thank you for watching, have a great night, and take care. Hey everyone, this is the part of the video where I thank my amazing channel members. Thank you for watching this video. I don't have much to say here because I'm kind of sick right now, so I can't really talk. But thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hugs and kisses. Mwah, I love you all. Thank you to Old Man Han, Cammy the Killer, Jazba, Mortis, Arg Seals, Wormy, Perfect Orange, Happy the Hap Hap, Gundog 92, Gerald Say, Loose Chujin, Raymond ZX200, Nick Toyo, Basewire, Power Level Asian, Kira the Stowaway, Sonic Frontiers is a good game, Isaac the Collector, and Chandarin. Thank you all so much for the support. It really does mean the world to me. And thank you again to MAXX.SEV and SEBALESS for the help on the video. Don't have much else to say right now because, again, I'm not feeling the greatest right now. But thank you for watching. Have a great night and take care.